Hey everyone, Sheree Warwick here, blackblockchainconsultants.com. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. So today's topic actually comes from Talisha Shine, one of our BBC members who put an article into our internal system, and I thought it was so great that I wanted to expound on it, add some thoughts, get you thinking in regards to the future of blockchain in the Black community and some of the thought processes and articles that are actually coming out about this. So I am going to share my screen. And here we go. Okay, so this is an article from McKinsey and Company. And if you are not familiar with McKinsey, they are a very, very large consulting company out there. Very well known and very well respected. So this is an article from November 2018, Automation and the Future of the African American Workforce. Okay, so what are they saying here? We're going to kind of go through this, break this down, and I'm going to add some commentary in here. And we're going to talk about how blockchain is one of the answers to some of the things that they're saying in this article, but not just blockchain, but just technology training overall for us. Okay, so let's get started here. How automation affects the U.S. workforce is largely a question of which jobs and activities can be most easily automated. At a macro level, change will occur over time. It's not likely that 1 million truck drivers will be thrown out of work in the next few years, because the technologies to automate these roles have not matured, nor have companies developed business cases to use them. This is true. Okay, this section is true. However, if you are 20 years old and you think you're going to be driving a truck at age 50 and 60, you are mistaken. So this first paragraph really does depend on how old you are in the workforce and how ready you are to retire. And ready does not necessarily mean age, but it does mean your financial ability to retire. Okay, great. So let's move on to the second paragraph. But at the macro level, change can happen quickly as individual workers are displaced, which is more likely in some type of roles than others. The kinds of support activities performed by service workers, administrative support workers, operatives, laborers, and helpers are, not surprisingly, more easily automated than the directive activities performed by executives, professionals, technicians, and sales and craft workers. And that leaves African Americans especially vulnerable. So I want you to pay attention to the list of people that are going to be displaced again. Okay? People that are going to be displaced by automation: service workers, administrative support workers, operatives, laborers, and helpers. If you are 20, 30, maybe even 40 years old and you are in one of these positions, it is time for you to wake up. If you're 50 and you're not going to be ready to retire in the next 10 years, I would say, you'd better wake up. It is time for you to shift to skills that are not going to be easily replaced by automation. So what are the skills again that they're talking about? Executives, professionals, technicians, and sales and craft workers. These are just some of the skills, but you want to think about where you are in your life right now and where you need to be. And technicians doesn't just mean people that are coders, but it means people that understand and know how to manage technology in such a way that they are valuable to a company, which is where blockchain consulting comes in. Okay, great. Let's move on. In fact, when we overlaid racial representation over automation assessments of nearly 2,000 different detailed work activities in more than 800 occupations, we found that African American workers are disproportionately concentrated in the kinds of support roles most likely to be affected. Moreover, we found that efforts to ease a general workforce transition into an automated future could wind up worsening existing racial disparities in income, opportunity, and wealth. This is going to be a crisis in the next 10 to 20 years. We want to help the Black community. Absolutely. The first thing that you need to do is work within your families to get your skills up. Talking to your families, your cousins, your aunts, uncles, friends, and really address this in the household and then addressing it in your community. So saying here, vulnerable workforce. Representation of the African American workforce in directive and support roles is proportionately opposite that of the general population, despite increasing evidence that inclusion and diversity are sources of competitive advantage. While a majority of the general population are employed in directive roles, a majority of African American workers are in support roles. Even without the effects of automation, this distribution exacerbates racial wealth inequality. For example, support roles are predicted to grow at 1.5% over the next decade, significantly slower than the 8.8% growth predicted for directive roles over the same period. Moreover, workers in support roles are paid less, with an average wage of $32,000 compared with nearly $69,000 for workers in directive roles. Okay, what does this mean? This means you got to get new skills. This means that the support roles that we have traditionally taken are only growing at 1.5% over the next decade. However, these directive roles, these sales, these technology roles are growing at 8.8%. We have to start training to be a part of that growth. We have to get our kids to start training to be a part of that growth. Okay? So, keep going. As the effects of automation play out, the racial distribution between support and directive roles is likely to become more concerning, and African Americans are especially vulnerable. That's because a much higher percentage of the time spent on the support roles they work in will be automated as companies adapt and develop technology. 53% compared with 31% for directive roles. Among the occupations we analyzed, that amounts to an estimated 459,000 more jobs that could be automated. So, ladies and gentlemen, we know in the Black community that we have an unemployment problem. This is going to exacerbate it tremendously. People in our communities are going to start getting laid off, and they're going to need a place to come in order to get the skills that they need to find new work. And you want to be able to position yourself to help them with the skills that they need, because we're going to look at real problems with the job unemployment rate with Black people. For example, African Americans are overrepresented in the category of truck drivers. That is, there are roughly 156,000 more African Americans driving trucks than their number is within the population. So it goes further down, and really there are 581,000 Black workers in the trucking industry. And they are setting it up where probably about 15 years, these truckers are going to start being replaced by automated driving. 15, maybe 20 years. Again, if you're 20 years old, you'd better start working on a plan B. Be a truck driver for the next 20 years. Absolutely. But work on a plan B. Okay. Even in job categories that can't be easily automated and where African Americans are overrepresented, the advantage is muted. African Americans are overrepresented among nursing and home health aides by 420,000 employees, predominantly women. Although the field has only a 16% automation potential and is among the fastest growing job categories, it also has among the lowest medium wages. Postal workers, another place where we are overrepresented, that higher wage plus a 73% automation risk. That means that the post office is losing a lot of money too. So that means in the next upcoming years, as the automation becomes a lot more capable, people that work for the post office are going to start losing their jobs. 73% automation risk. So there's a negative growth rate within the post office. And then this article goes into how to help, and they talk about the different ways that that corporations can help. They talk about nonprofits. They talk about other groups of people, the government, different things that the government can do to help. I want to talk about an idea that I have that we can do. But before I do that, I want to show you this chart right here. These 5 categories here, it says here more than 60% of the automation risk for African American workforce is concentrated in 5 occupation categories: office and administrative support, transportation, production, food preparation and serving, and sales and related. Now, I'm not exactly sure. If you're a great salesperson, I doubt that you would be replaced by automation. But maybe some of the automation has to do with some of the sales support staff. Like if you work in an office, let's say you work in a mortgage office and someone sells a mortgage and you have to do that paperwork in order to get the mortgage through, then yes, absolutely. But I thought that this was very interesting. And let's talk about ways that we can help. Number one is advocacy in terms of in our own community, talking about whether or not people join BBC, joining an organization, figuring out what their current skills are, what their skills need to be, and how do we bridge that gap. The faster we can help people bridge the gap where they're not super stressed, the better we are. The time to bridge that gap is not when the person gets laid off, even though we know that's really the time that people are going to start coming to us. I used to tell people all the time with computer repair, for example, that you're chugging along with your computer, you know it's acting a little weird, but a lot of people don't get the issues with their computer taken care of until they see the blue screen or it starts flashing, like really, really flashing. The other thing is, I talked with a couple of people. I was doing an interview and I said, if we had 100,000 Black people that put $100 into a pot, that's $10 million. What if we were able to start funding some of our companies, whether they're blockchain projects or other types of companies? $10 million would go a long way in getting a company set up. And then the people that put the money in the pot would also be able to say, okay, we're putting this money in the pot for you, but you need to hire us in order to help build out your organization and help the organization grow and thrive. Great. I have another option here for you. This was a gentleman that I found, and I'm going to put this in the comments as well. This gentleman is Sub-Zero3639, and he teaches a class, a coding class for people that want to come in and do entry-level coding. And I think he teaches SQL, if I remember this correctly. But this was a really, really great interview that he did on the O'Shea Duke Jackson show. and I encourage you to listen to it. Because he not only talks about what he teaches, he also had a couple of students come in and talk as well about the realities of learning this trade in terms of SQL and coding and how they got jobs. And I think one young lady's making like $40 an hour now, and the other young man is making some money, I think even more than that, per hour. And the whole process was a 3-month class, and he really works one-on-one with like a very small group of people. I think supporting things like this and building these things out is very important. I think coming together and, if we can get 100,000 people, putting $100 in the pot, we do that 12 times a year for 5 years. We got 60 businesses out there that are hiring people, and they would have to be, good businesses that that are providing products and services that are related to where the economy and where the world is headed. So those are just some thoughts I have in regards to that. I really enjoyed reading this article. I'm looking forward to having you tell me how we can help, what we can do as a group, as a community. Okay, I'm gonna sound mean now. I'm not here to save everybody. I don't think we can save everybody. But I do think that there is a section of the community that would be open to hearing what we have to say and say, okay, you're working now, you're making 25 grand. Let's see if we can get you to 50. Let's see if we can get you to 75. Let's see if we can get you to 100. And these are like little steps that they would take over time. But it's based on skills, and it's based on us being able to develop trainings and interest in the community. So, all right, that's it for me. God bless you. Cherie Warwick here with Black Blockchain Consultants. We have our 6-figure blockchain consulting class that is coming up starting December 6th. If you see this after December 6th, you can hear the replay. You want to come to blackblockchainconsultants.com, get more information. Also, we'll have the link in the chat box as well for that class. So looking forward to it, looking forward to seeing you, and we're looking forward to being a part of the solution. So that's it for me. God bless. Have a good day.